The first thing that comes to mind when I do think about what would be different is that I wonder if I would truly get my phenomenalness.
Stephanie's journey has taken her down many different paths that, as she says, always lead to growth and light.
The image that kept coming out for me was, you know, you're at the beach and it's kind of an overcast day and you know that there's sun behind the clouds, but you can't see it. I had that image all the time. As I continued to heal, that image changed and it got sunnier.
After Stephanie's assault, she devoted several years to an ongoing trial, a unique and somewhat rare experience among survivors, as far too many cases of sexual assault remain untold.
I thought that if I went through a trial and a jury said that he was guilty and he did what he did, then everyone would believe me. And I kind of thought that that would just fix everything.
Stephanie shared with us some of her process around learning how to express her story and how the support and community around her has continually inspired her to be open and true to herself and those around her.
I didn't want to share it. And I know it was because of the guilt and the shame that I felt around it. I hadn't quite gotten there yet to where I got that it wasn't my fault and that I thought I did something wrong. And what's amazing is that every time I go to tell somebody, I get really scared because I'm afraid I'm not supposed to say anything, or I'm afraid that they're not going to believe me, or that they're going to say, well, yeah, this was your fault, you did something wrong. And what I've experienced is that every time I do tell someone, their reaction is actually totally opposite of what I think it is. It's the first male I told, I remember what he said to me. He said, I told him I was afraid of sharing it because it would change how he looked at me. And he said, you're right. You know, it does change how I look at you. And now I see you as someone who has just an incredible amount of courage and fearlessness and, you know, beauty and grace to be able to go through an experience like that and still be as joyful and as beautiful as you are.
As an important step in her own healing journey, Stephanie was inspired to create a space for survivor empowerment and celebration.
Survivors know fear. They know the courage and the strength and the grace that it takes to overcome that fear. I ask you please to raise your glass tonight to the surviving and thriving. It's the triumph of courage over fear. Thank you very much for being here.
Surviving and Thriving, Celebrating Phenomenal Women is an event that I created to honor women and celebrate them. And it is based on my Angelou quote that says, surviving is important, thriving is elegant. And survivors of anything know what it means to survive, and they also get the opportunity to know what it means to thrive. I feel like I know both really, really well. What I've created as a result of this experience allows me to see that silver lining on the cloud and allows me to be almost grateful for having had an experience that has really forced me to look at who I am and what I'm capable of and what I do have at my core. As I've connected with more survivors, I have learned that there is a very common experience around coming to peace with your experience. And it's not like it's something that I would ever want to go through again, and yet it's something that I don't know that I would change.
We are here to celebrate this community that has been created over the last 4 years. We are here to celebrate the men and the women who come together and say, enough is enough. So to all of the men and the women in the room, thank you for being here.
You know, a wave forms and it breaks. It's going to be different sizes and different shapes, and it might hit a rock or it might hit the beach. But what it does is it just hits that rock and it hits that beach and it goes around it. I wanted to be that wave, and that when I hit an obstacle or a challenge, I just went around it. I just continued to flow. And so that has become a mantra of mine, of being like that wave or being like the water. When it flows over things or under things, it just keeps going.